Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 813, NFL Week 1 Preview. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Eddie, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, it's been 12 hours. Things are going pretty well.
Not even.
Yeah, it's back-to-back recording, so no breaking news between when we recorded the preview and now we're going to do our week 1 picks. So at least,
which is unfortunate because sometimes there is that breaking news that happens, right at the start of the morning. We could have gotten right in.
Yep, sadly, nothing. But I suppose before we kick off our NFL Week 1 picks, we can maybe do a quick roundup on the Premier League and the end of the transfer window and a few big stories that sort of came out from last weekend. From a match perspective, the notable results were Liverpool beating Arsenal thanks to a really great free kick from Schleich.
Really nice.
And then City losing again, losing to Brighton, going 1-0 up, looked fairly in control, and then conceded 2 late goals to let it slip away. And I've got to be honest, we're not an overreaction podcast, but I think we can just we can just take City out of the title race.
Wow. Wow, how quickly you've turned on City in less than a year.
Well,
yeah, I mean, City and Newcastle are in relegation danger right now.
I wouldn't go that far. And I think it's reflected in City's decision to sign Donnarumma, which, they brought Trafford in. They had Ederson. It was clear Ederson was going to be moved away, but they could only have brought Donnarumma in with a view to him being first choice, because otherwise, why would you sign a high-profile, big-name goalkeeper to just sit on the bench? Now, I think probably he was available for less than they thought, so, the deal was done at the end of the window, and I don't think they were chasing Donnarumma all summer. It was just they became aware of his availability at a reasonable price. But it's got to be disappointing for Trafford, who signed from Burnley, I guess expecting to be in competition with Ederson, but was probably told that it was his job to start the season. And then now he's in competition with Donnarumma, who's probably been told that it's his job to start the season. So, Trafford might slightly regret. He certainly, I'm sure, really regrets the poor decision-making against Spurs, because that's going to be the thing that costs him his job in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, not an optimal start for City there. Again, they do have their lineup still isn't fully healthy and set yet, so maybe once that comes together, they'll be a little better, but not a great way to start the season when you have Liverpool is 3 for 3 with a very nice quality win against Arsenal. So, a place where you think they might have slipped up or lost a few points. It's already a tough hill to climb now.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one because, Liverpool spent nearly £500 million this window, kind of getting close there with Isaac coming in.
No, not nearly. They spent 567.
Oh, there you go. So over £500 million. Broke the British transfer record with the signing of Isaac from Newcastle. Defending champions. When you invest that heavily, the expectation has to be winning the title. And then they're 3 from 3 to start the season. But at the same time, they could easily be 3 draws to start the season. They've had 2 injury time winners and, a free kick in a game that probably should have been a draw against Arsenal, sort of in fairness in terms of how the flow of the match was. So things feel so good for them, but then you kind of look at what actually has happened on the pitch, and it's not been that impressive so far. But all that matters is that they've picked up these 3 wins.
Yeah, and now with Alexander Isak, they're stacked up front to the point where it's difficult to see what the lineup's going to be, because someone's going to be out, and it's going to be unfortunate for a good quality player that's going to have to either sit or rotate or something. I guess the counter argument you can make is they're going to play a lot of matches this year. and that there'll be plenty of time for everyone to play. But at the end of the day, I think when you make all of these signings and have multiple signings of over 100 pounds for players, they want to be starters and impact players, and having them come off the bench is not optimal.
Yeah. And the standoff that was going on between Isak and Newcastle was obviously not tenable and sustainable. So he got his way in the end and forced that move. And we spoke about that a couple of weeks ago with him and Wisa trying to force their way out. And once he left to go to Liverpool, then that opened the door for Wisa to go from Brentford to Newcastle. But it's interesting because you had two players who firmly held out, refused to play, basically forced their moves. And then you had one player who very much wanted to leave in Gahey at Crystal Palace, who played. Yes, he had the sort of mini controversy with not acknowledging the fans and ignoring his manager when they were leaving the pitch, but he still played. And then he was set to sign for Liverpool, and that deal was pulled in the final moments of the window. And it's this unfortunate thing now where we're critical of players for sort of holding out and trying to force moves. But the reality is, it looks like that's the only way you actually get your move across the
Yeah,
line.
yeah, that's true.
Because if you're Gahey now, you sit back and think, if I'd said I wasn't playing, they sold me to Liverpool. Like, I am now at Liverpool, probably starting for the best team in England. I could win the Premier League, possibly the Champions League, possibly other things. And instead, I'm at, mid-table Crystal Palace playing in one of the less attractive European competitions. And yeah, I'll play for England, but it really radically changes for not a young player, radically changes what the rest of his career now looks like.
Any other Premier League? I know we're now going into international break, which is always crazy to me when you only have 3 weeks and you're already in a international break. But yeah, I think the Arsenal Liverpool match was decent. It wasn't as exciting as I hoped for. A tad bit boring, but it did favor Arsenal in that first half. I thought they were actually going to score. They had a few decent chances and a few decent corners, and then in the second half, I actually think Liverpool definitely outplayed them. So maybe the 1-0 was a little unfair, but I think at the end of the day, Liverpool had that free kick was so nice. That was like perfect.
Yeah, it's a great goal. And, it's a goal worthy of winning an important match. So, there's not much you can do. There's nothing. I know people have been a bit critical of Raya, and I often am, but there's nothing he could have done there. It's just a perfect free kick. And sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and acknowledge that. Other than that, I mean, I know you love your obscure statistics, but I don't know if you saw, but because James Milner scored a penalty for Brighton this weekend against Manchester City, he is now the
The oldest.
second oldest ever
Oh,
goal scorer
I
in the
knew it was going
Premier
to be
League.
something old.
But he's also the second youngest ever goal scorer in the Premier League. So he has this sort of neat
Wow.
little bookend of those records. He's 39 years old, 239 days. Well, he was on the day that he scored his goal. If he wants to become the oldest ever goal scorer, he needs to score next season, midway through next season, because he's chasing 40 years, 268 days is the oldest goal scorer at the moment. So,
No, I wouldn't. I think if he's him, he's got to retire now, because you can't say I'm the second youngest goal scorer and the oldest goal scorer. I think it's so much cooler to say I'm the second youngest and the second oldest goal scorer.
it is, but then someone younger comes along and now you're the third youngest and second oldest. I
Well, then you
think,
got to hope someone else outbeats you on the other end then.
yeah, which probably will happen. I mean, it is quite old to be playing in the Premier League, but as we see with all sports, you're going to see more and more players getting towards their late 30s, early 40s and still playing. So, I mean, say this, James Milner is going to score again this season, you would expect. So already whilst he won't go to the top goal scorer, he'll at least push that record slightly higher.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, after that, we'll have to see if he can hang around for another season. He says he loves playing and that he wants to keep going. Obviously, he doesn't drink alcohol. He is a pretty quiet person off the field, so I think he probably will do another season.
Yeah. I thought you were going to mention Jack Grealish with his hot start of his 4 assists and 2 matches for Everton, leading them to 2 nice wins. I thought you were going to mention that on me.
No, but yeah, it's nice for him. He comes across as such a genuine and nice person that it's hard not to sort of root for him and hope for him to do well. So, it's good that he was willing to leave City. Now, I mean, who knows how much was choice and how forced he was, but
Hey,
still,
he just got out before the ship sank.
It's true.
Maybe he's smarter than we think.
Maybe, but yeah, I think nice to see him succeeding and playing well, and that's good for England too. Although he plays in a position that England have so many options, but it does put him at least back into contention now that he is playing week in, week out, and playing well.
Yeah, you need him in that locker room though. He's like the Jameis Winston of the England national team.
So it's not the worst comparison. Now those two should start a podcast together. That would be.
Oh, I would watch that.
Could absolutely can't miss listening. I mean, the topics that would come up and the ways in which they were discussed could just be the two of them talking about geography. Let's see how far they can go.
No, he won't. But he won't even mention geography. You give him a map of England, and he just walks away.
Yeah. Who do you think that would actually be interesting? Who has a better sense of the geography of the United Kingdom, Jameis Winston or Jack Grealish? Because I think Jameis Winston might do better.
Maybe.
And on that note, we can transition to our predictions for week 1 of the NFL season. And I'll start things off by asking you a question, which is that Red Zone has officially announced that it will no longer be 7 hours of commercial-free football. And the formal statement, the ways in which Scott Hansen will be starting each week now, is 7 hours of Red Zone football starts now. That's going to be his new introduction. How upsetting is this for you?
I know as a podcast, listeners can't see my face, but the face would tell you everything. I'm extremely devastated by this news. I mean, this is the worst thing to happen to America in a very long time. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why they need to do this. They overlaid ads, I think, last year. It was fine. I was okay with it, but this is the whole point of Red Zone is that it's commercial-free football. Like that's obviously I'm highly exaggerating here with every comment, but it was a big component of Red Zone was that you didn't have to sit through commercials. You could always watch something. And that was nice. I understand the main point is that like you see all the big highlights of all the big games, but that was nice that you didn't have to a commercial would hit and then you'd have to go to something else for a little bit and then come back. Like it was just always something new to watch. So it's very, very annoying and frustrating. And then I also heard reports too that eventually I think it's going to be bought out. I think by ESPN eventually down the road. I'm sure that's probably just rumor, but yeah, it's not a good look for Red Zone. That first off, you have to pay to even get Red Zone, which is bullshit. And now you have to pay to get Red Zone to get commercials.
The overlaid ads were one thing. I get it. You have this captive audience. It's incredibly popular, and you're not monetizing it to the degree that you could. And I get that from a financial perspective. Whilst it's nice to think that Red Zone has such integrity that they'll never show ads, the overlaid ads are fine if that's what you want to do, especially when you're going to quad box and one of those boxes is an ad. I can live with that. The problem I have with it is the big selling point of Red Zone is not only not seeing the commercials, but not having you want to see everything when it happens. The idea is we're now going to show you this. It's 4th and goal from the 1 yard line, we're going to go live to it and you're going to see it. You're not going to miss anything. And now if they're on commercial break for 90 seconds, when something big happens, you're just getting caught up afterwards, which kind of pushes you back in the direction of, I can just curate my own red zone experience in that case and monitor where teams are and flick from one game to another. So this feels like it could be the beginning of the end for red zone, just because a lot of the sort of value proposition that it offered users is now going away.
Yeah. And the other aspect of this, again, like I said, is you have to pay extra for red zone. So it reminds me a lot of what streaming services are doing, where you would pay for a streaming service and then you'd get to watch the TV shows on that service, like Amazon Prime. But now Amazon Prime still plays advertisements. So you pay for the streaming service, but then you still have to watch ads, and you have the potential to pay extra to not watch the ads. And I wonder if maybe that's where Red Zone's going to go, with like a 2-tier system, which would be absolutely insane. But it is going the way of most streaming services, where you're paying a premium for a product, but yet you're still forced to watch advertisements now. So
The
very
only reason
unfortunate.
only reason I think they won't be able to do that premium no ad experience is how would they navigate that in terms of Scott Hansen then interacting with people, because he'd have to
He just
be
cuts
aware
out.
of he'd have to be aware that, hey, 70% of your viewers did not just see the last 90 seconds of what you were showing. So then you have to welcome them back. But then if you're a premium user, you're like, why are you welcoming me back? I've been here the whole time. So that would be a very disjointed experience, unless you
That's
then
the
did
catch, Eddie.
like
You get
paid
Scott
for
Hansen on the premium, and you get Scott Fansen on the advertisement version.
That's the only way you could do it, is to have a different host who then kind of updates. That seems like a lot of work, because at that point, I think you're offsetting the benefit of the extra revenue of just 2 additional production teams and a new host. But what I love about it is Scott Hansen gets so much criticism directly. Like, he's having to respond to people on Twitter and explain to them that he doesn't own Red Zone. He doesn't make business decisions at Red Zone.
I hope he's got some market share, though, of it.
I'm sure.
I hope he's got some stake.
I'm sure he's very well paid. I mean, this is all he does, right? Scott Hansen never appears on anything else.
All he does, apart from, he doesn't pee for 7 hours. All he does. The guy sacrifices his body for the American public.
I regularly don't pee for 7 hours, so I don't have, that's not something that I think is that marvelous, but he must be doing pretty well, because NFL season ends, and aside from interviews, he doesn't do any, he's not appearing on another ESPN show to host SportsCenter for a bit or something like that, as far as I'm aware. He doesn't have a podcast.
No, he probably just does talking engagements and makes a ton of money. He probably just goes to an office and it's like, and now we're going to do data analysis for 7 hours.
Yeah. 7 hours of uninterrupted data monitoring. Here we go. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like a shame. I definitely will use Red Zone less now. I think I will just
let's see.
Skip around.
Let's see how many advertisements they have. If it's 2 minutes an hour, then maybe it's okay. But if it's standard, like every 10 minutes, game over.
Yeah, but if it's 2 minutes an hour, it depends. You just need good luck on when those 2 minutes fall, and how responsive can they be to, because there are definitely moments in Red Zone where there's only 3 games going and they're all in timeouts, or they're all at like a quarter break. And then, okay, if they want to stick the ads in, then it isn't disruptive. But if it is like the witching hour, is that going to be untouched for commercial purposes?
Don't disturb my witching hour, Eddie.
Because you would think that at least you could placate some of the concerns if they say the witching hour is 0, is commercial free, which is what they do, for example.
The commercial free witching hour.
They do that in golf with certainly on Sky, but I think they do it on all of the, maybe it's only on Sky, but Sky literally will on Sunday for the final hour, I think it is, or the final 2 hours, they make an announcement of, this is now commercial free golf coverage thanks to our sponsor Rolex. And so like Rolex gets the plug there, and they thank them throughout then that period of time for, isn't it great that we don't have commercials? And you could do that. You could do the witching hour brought to you by Microsoft. And then, throughout it, we get to thank Steve Ballmer for, illicitly paying his players multiple times. So yeah, I don't know how that will be handled.
All right. Shall we kick off our week 1 preview?
Yes. So, and this year we are going to have a full record of our performance. Everything is in place.
Oh, here we go again.
Everything is in place. We're
We've
back.
heard this before. Do I have to get former podcast host Sam on to ask us if we ever saw our 2022 final results?
Maybe I'll just outsource this tracking of our performance to Sam. That can be his ongoing contribution to the podcast. But we kick things off with defending champions, although they don't like being called that, according to them, because it's a new season. And they're not champions of anything. This is what the Eagles are saying.
They're defending the championship.
They're not defending anything. This is the thing they keep saying. Like, we're not defending anything. Everyone's starting from scratch. I get what they're trying to say there is like, it's a new season, new teams, new players, new all things, but you are still defending champions. Like, this is an inescapable fact. But I get what the mental gymnastics they're trying to go through to have this sort of underdog mentality, basically. And things kick off with a serious underdog as the Eagles are 8-point favorites at home to the Dallas Cowboys. What's your selection?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Thursday night football is always tough. It's a tricky one to bet on, but it's the first game of the year. So obviously the short rest period isn't an issue. The not being able to plan properly for the team isn't an issue. Therefore, I'm going to go with the Eagles to win, and I'm going to go with the Eagles to cover. They are the defending champions. We talked about in our preview podcast, they're returning 10 of 11 on their offense. So that offensive front is still dominant. They're going to move the ball like crazy against the Cowboys, who now are Micah Parsonless. And just offensively on the Cowboys, they might be okay, but it's still really up in the air. I don't know how good what's his face is going to fit into that offense as a number 2 receiver. I want to say Kenny Pickett, but not Kenny Pickett. Pickens. Yeah. I don't know how Pickens is going to fit in there yet. So I just think the Eagles are going to score 35 points here plus, and I don't think the Cowboys are going to get to over 20.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I'll take the Eagles to win and Eagles to cover the spread. Yes, they're untouched offensively. The question there is that they've lost a few defensive starters, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, CJ Gardner-Johnson. So, that could impact the Eagles over the course of the season. But this is a Dallas Cowboys team in a really bad situation on the back of that Parsons trade. So, yeah, I'll take the Eagles to win and the Eagles to cover. Do you want to know what Microsoft Copilot has as the prediction for this week?
What the fuck's Microsoft Copilot?
It's 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 like ChatGPT.
Okay, what does Microsoft Copilot tell us?
We're like the red zone. We're doing plugs now. It says it expects the Eagles to dominate, especially in the trenches and on the ground. That new Cowboys head coach Brian Schottenheimer is unproven, and they have concerns that Dak Prescott could be rusty as he returns from a hamstring injury that limited him to just 8 games last year. And their score prediction is Eagles 30, Cowboys 17.
Wow, it's very close to what I said.
Yes.
Although they are right about Dak Prescott, because you know what they say, if you have a hamstring injury 6 months ago, it's still going to linger.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, as someone who's plagued by some hamstring problems, I feel like at this stage I would be confident that I could get back out there and the rust should be firmly shaken off your hamstrings at this point.
Hey, speaking of hamstring issues, Eddie, I would like you to know, after we discussed your kickball glory, less than 10 hours ago, I woke up this morning to two kickball Instagram reels going through my algorithm. So thanks for that one. Now I have watching idiots play kickball for my videos.
Nice. You're welcome. Up next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Chargers, but not at the Chargers because this game is being played in Sao Paulo.
At
This game was obviously,
Corinthians Arena.
yeah, a little controversial last year because of the condition of the field, and it got a lot of backlash. There were some injuries that came out of it last year, right? It was last year. This game was the Eagles against the Ravens, was it? Or the It was a good game last year,
It was a good matchup.
but the injury that came out of it was, I can't remember which quarterback went down hurt in the game. But anyway, that's the big question mark here. The Chiefs are 3-point favorites. I'm a bit torn here. Obviously, in this season preview, I did say that I thought that the Chiefs were going to struggle this season, and that this is when Patrick Mahomes is slightly exposed as not being the elite quarterback that we think he is. Not that
But
he certainly was one.
you also hate Justin Herbert. This is a
I
tough
do.
one for you.
I do. This is Sophie's choice.
This
for
is
me.
my ideal matchup, and your hated matchup.
It is. And I would have felt a lot more confident about this going into the game if the Chargers hadn't lost Slater, their left tackle. That's a big injury for them, considering that they're going to be a run-heavy team and the way Harbaugh likes to play. But I'm going to back the Chargers to win this game and obviously take them with the points.
Is it 3 or 3.5?
It is currently 3.
Ooh. Okay. I think the Chiefs will win this match, but at the end of the day, 3 out of the last 5 games that the Chargers and the Chiefs have played has been won by 3 points or less. Always by the Chiefs. They seem to always beat the Chargers and have their number, but it always ends up being a close matchup. So I'm going to take the Chiefs to win, but I'm going to take the Chargers with the points.
Wow, threading the needle in week
Threading a
one.
needle right there.
Copilot says that it's a
We're
big
not
fan.
doing Copilot for everyone.
We are.
Why even have a podcast? Let's just let Microsoft Copilot.
Well, can we outperform AI? This is us against technology. This is where Copilot says it's a big fan of Patrick Mahomes, and that,
who is it?
And it's noted that he's thrown 21 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions in his 7 career week 1 starts. So he does extremely well.
He is amazingly good on week 1.
And that he also tends to elevate whoever is on the field with him. And so they are not concerned about Rashee Rice being out. And they also said that the Chiefs have a significant coaching advantage with Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo compared to Jim Harbaugh. So they have the Chiefs winning 27-20.
Yeah, Mahomes is 6-1 in his week 1 matchups.
And Andy Reid is 10-2 in the last 12 seasons as a head coach in week 1.
Gotta love Andy Reid.
Now we shift on to Sunday, and we'll kick things off with the Arizona Cardinals at the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints the Cardinals are 6.5-point favorites.
Listen, I'm going to make this easy. For those who listen to our preview, I have the Cardinals winning their division. If they're going to win their division, they have to beat the New Orleans Saints. This could be a major reality check for my prediction if this does not go well. The Cardinals are just way too strong, I think, defensively. That defensive front is going to destroy whatever quarterback the Saints are starting. I think it's Spencer Rattler. I'm not sure.
It is,
I thought that's what I had heard.
Rattler.
Yeah, so that does not look good for the Saints. And then offensively, Kyler Murray will be nice to see. This is a great game for him to kind of get into a groove a little bit and maybe start connecting with Marvin Harrison Jr. They didn't connect super well in year 1. Harrison Jr. had a little bit of a so-so year 1. He had spurts, but didn't put it all together like some of the other rookies like Neighbors. So I think this is a great opportunity for the Cards to get off on the right track, and I'm going to take the Cards to win and to win big.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick and simple. I think the Saints are the worst team in football, so I'll be picking against them probably every week until proven otherwise. So yeah, I think the Cardinals win this and cover this spread as well. Copilot says that they have serious doubts about Spencer Rattler, who was 0-6 as a starter last season, and that the Cardinals' defensive line will cause him significant problems and get him under pressure early and
Is this
often.
Co-Pilot or Co-Frank?
And their prediction is Cardinals 27, Saints 16. Up next, we have the Panthers at Jags, and the Jags are 3.5-point favorites.
This is a tough one for me because I don't really trust either team, and I don't really trust either quarterback, which is really saying something for Trevor Lawrence, that it's just not gone so well in his career. I'm just going to go out on the limb here. Week 1, you get some tricky results. I'm going to take the Panthers to win this. I think they were looking better towards the end of this season. Maybe they come out hot. Bryce Young has a good game, and they somehow squeak one out against the Jags here.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit, I've never been a Trevor Lawrence fan. I've always had him garbage adjacent, dumpster fire adjacent, sometimes right in the dumpster fire. I think this is a little bit of a bounce back year for the Jags. Obviously, a lot of change in terms of their head coach and the system that they'll be playing in. I think Trevor Lawrence gets something. He's not going to be the can't miss generational quarterback that he was expected to be coming into the NFL, but I think he'll get back to being a serviceable NFL starter. So I think the Jags will just have a little bit too much for the Panthers. So I'll expect the Jags to win and to cover. Copilot expects this to be
I'll
a
give
high
you.
score.
I was going to give
Go
you a
ahead.
nice little fact to support you. Bryce Young is the starter for the Panthers. They've lost 8 of their 9 road games by at least 6 points. So he's not very good on the road.
There you
His
go.
only win is against Penix last year.
Well, Copilot expects the game to be high scoring, as these were the 2 worst defenses in football last year. But has the Jags winning 27-24. So not covering the spread, but going well over the over. The over under is 47. So if you want to back Copilot, you take the over there and enjoy a high scoring.
Don't get why are we
not high
supporting
quality game.
Copilot?
Hey, the dollars are rolling in from Microsoft right now. Next on the lineup, it is the Bengals at the Browns, and the Bengals are 5-point favorites. I think I'll be pretty quick on this one again as well, which a lot of the problems that the Bengals are going to have over the course of this year are over last year are still going to be there. So I'm not sure how well they'll do at protecting Joe Burrow. We just have that year in, year out that this is always a problem for them. And their defense is never great. But they have so many weapons around Burrow. They've invested in keeping those weapons there for him. And so offensively, I think they'll still be fun to watch, score lots of points. They're going to have weird results over the course of the year just because there's inconsistency sort of baked into the weaknesses that they have. But the Browns are going to be one of the worst teams in football. This is a nice matchup for a Bengals team that has struggled sometimes early in the season in the Burrow era. And I expect them to win this game comfortably. So taking them to win and taking them to cover the spread.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on this, especially from the fact that Burrow, for the past few years, has always been injured in season openers. So he had came back from the knee injury the 1 year. He had like a calf injury, a wrist injury. This is his first season where he's actually coming in healthy, and that should be great news for the Bengals. The only worry is the Browns have beaten the Bengals in Cleveland 3 out of the last 4 matchups. So the Browns kind of own the Bengals when the Bengals come to town. Slight worry, but I don't know if I can trust a 40-year-old Joe Flacco to pull off a win. The points It's going to be close, but I'll take the Bengals to win. I'll take them to cover, although I could see Cleveland keeping that a little closer than we expect. But for now, I think let's trust the Bengals.
All right. Copilot says this game is all about the talent gap at quarterback, and that Joe Burrow had a stellar 2024 and has serious concerns about immobile Joe Flacco playing behind a shaky offensive line.
Oh, shots fired at Joe Flacco. what did Joe Flacco do to Copilot?
He's a big ChatGPT guy. So, yeah, they expect the Bengals to win this one 28-17. Next up, we have the Raiders at the Patriots, and the Patriots are 2.5-point favorites.
This is another tough matchup. I mean, week 1 is full of tough matchups. Some of them are great matchups, and some of them are just competitive matchups where you really don't have a leg up on one team or the other. This is another one where everyone is pushing the Patriots and thinking that they're going to have a much improved season. I'm not so sure. I mean, we talk about sophomore slumps with quarterbacks, but all of a sudden Drake May is not going to have a sophomore slump with a team that isn't that much more improved than they were last year. So that's a concern. And then on the other side, you have the Raiders who weren't very competitive last year, but they have a better team. They have Geno Smith. They have, they have better receiving options. They have Pete Carroll. It's a definite upgrade. So I'm very torn in this. I am not sold on the Patriots yet. I think people just saw Drake May and thought that it's instantly going to be Tom Brady and the Patriots 2.0, especially with Vrabel now instead of Gerard Mayo. I don't see it. I'm going to go here with the underdog and take the Raiders to win and obviously to cover.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because I agree with you. People are very optimistic about the improvements that the Patriots are going to make this year, and that's basically dependent on Vrabel being a huge difference maker. And don't get me wrong, I think Mayo to Vrabel is a huge upgrade in the head coaching position. So that will definitely, result in the Patriots being better. But also, people are just speaking about Drake May as if we saw enough from him that he's definitely going to be a very good NFL starting quarterback. And I thought he had an encouraging rookie season, but not one that makes me feel as if he's suddenly going to be, can be penciled in for being very good over the next 15 years. So I've got to pick. This is where I hate it. I've got to pick some underdogs at some point, and I think this is the game. I think this is a toss-up. And so on that basis, I'll take the Raiders, also take the Raiders with the points and take the Raiders to win. I think they've made more improvements to their team than the Patriots have to their starters in the offseason with the addition of Geno Smith. How good will Genti be in the NFL? Who knows? But at least should give them some kind of running back option and be able to move the ball through the air and on the ground. So I expect it to be low scoring, but I think the Raiders will edge it.
Yeah. And just keep in mind, Drake May did look good in season 1, but he was still 3-9. So something must be said. He looked good, but not good enough to really win that many games.
Copilot says that Mike Vrabel will be a great addition to the Patriots and that they can overachieve at home and that Vrabel's defensive background should stifle the Raiders. And they expect the Patriots to win 23-17.
The fuck does Copilot know?
Up next, we have the Dolphins at Colts, and the Colts are 1-point favorites. And I've got to throw this in here. This is the game that I do not want to see a second of this weekend. Obviously, it's week 1, so you do actually have to pay attention to all games. But there are very few compelling, interesting storylines coming out of this one. You have a Colts team that kind of doesn't have a quarterback at this stage. I know, when I said that on this preview, but basically they've sort of fumbled their way into Daniel Jones being their starting quarterback. The Dolphins sort of feel like they're in disarray as a whole. Like the wheels have come off what was for a while looking like an interesting team that could be high scoring and dominant. The question mark for them, obviously, over the course of the season is how healthy can Tua stay, and just the impact that the concerns over his concussions have on the style in which they have to play. That being said, I'm going to pick another underdog here because I think the Colts are going to be absolutely terrible. And I think the Dolphins, the things to avoid are when Tua isn't available and cold weather outdoor games. Neither of those are a concern this weekend. So I think the Dolphins could actually win this one reasonably comfortably. So I'll take them to win and definitely with the 1 point.
Yeah, I am with you. This is not a game I'm very interested in watching or betting on, for that matter. It's a sad state of things for the Dolphins to not even be favored against the Colts. The Colts obviously are starting Daniel Jones. So when you're starting Daniel Jones, I think the mentality here is that they're going to be a run-heavy offense. I prepare to run the ball a lot, which hopefully he can at least read the defense for audibles and that. So they are going to run a lot, and they'll probably run all over the Dolphins because they don't have a great defense. But I think having Tua healthy is a much bigger plus than having Daniel Jones healthy. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins as well. I think, for now, as long as Tua is healthy, he's a better quarterback and will outperform, and I think they can get a win here. How long that will last, though, is obviously to be determined.
Copilot says that the offensive power of the Dolphins could be the difference maker in this with HN, Hill, and Waddle, but has concerns
Waddle's
over
out, I think, Copilot, so you fucked that one up.
Well, there we go. But less confident about Miami's defense, but believes that Daniel Jones-led Colts are explosive enough to exploit the Dolphins' defensive weaknesses, and yet picks the Dolphins to win 27-21. So
high-scoring game.
Yeah. Up next, the Giants at the Commanders, and the Commanders are 6-point favorites, and this is the first litmus test that we have over how much confidence do you want to place in this new look Giants team and the incredible preseason that they had.
So you want me to go first, huh? This is the trap game. If you're a bettor here, I think. I don't know. Can I not bet it? Can I not make a decision? No, I think I'm going to take the Commanders
so,
here.
So we're clear, you can absolutely not bet it, but you do have to make a pick. But you're not actually required to bet on the game itself.
Here's what I'll do. I'll take the Commanders to win, but I will take the Giants to cover.
Whoa.
That way I can feel good about the Giants putting in a loss, but putting in a loss with a lot of effort. It will really depend on that front four for the Giants and how well they can contain Jaden Daniels, who, looked super impressive in year one as a rookie. So they did not play them well last year, and the Commanders kind of took it to the Giants last year. So I think they'll win, but I think the Giants will keep it close, and I think it will be an exciting game.
All right. Well, I think that I'm a little low on the, I think everything went right for the Commanders last season, and they can't have another year like that. And, there probably will be a little bit of regression from Jaden Daniels. They also rode their luck in a few games to kind of get themselves to the record that they had. But still, that offense should be overpowered for the Giants, and containing Jaden Daniels, as you referred to, I don't think is something this Giants team is going to be capable of. So I expect the Commanders to win, and to win comfortably. So I will take them to win and cover the spread. Copilot says that there could be upset potential here if the Giants can contain quarterback Jaden Daniels.
Ayo, let's go, Copilot. Let's go.
But it's more likely that the rising star would continue the momentum he built during his historic rookie season, and that Washington will win in week 1, 27-20.
Boo.
And now, we still got two more. You got the Steelers at the Jets. This is the weird one for me because this is being sort of discussed as these like revenge return games for two quarterbacks who had relatively brief stints with the other teams. I don't quite get why that's the storyline and narrative that we're going with. I don't know why, when I think of Aaron Rodgers, I do not think of him playing for the Jets. When I think of Justin Fields, I don't really think about him playing or really think about him much at all, but I do still associate him more with the Bears than I do with his single season stint with the Steelers. So,
But I think you can do it a little bit just because they both played for the opposing team and failed and were kind of forced out. So it's a revenge more for the player than it is for the team. Although maybe it is for the team because they're pissed that they made that decision and had to suffer with that player. So I kind of like it from the aspect of Rodgers was kind of chased out of New York and now he gets the chance to play them, which will be extra motivation for him. But I again this morning watched that video of him doing the foot drill at practice, and oh boy, is he not moving very well.
no, but I mean, this is such a nice opening week for him. And I mean, we did the week by week prediction for the Steelers. I do expect them to get to 8 wins, 9 wins. So they have to win this one if they're going to get there. So I just think that all around, I do like some, kind of adding DK Metcalf, and the Steelers feel like a slightly stronger version of themselves than they were last year. And you just do have to give the benefit of the doubt to Mike Tomlin and how well prepared his teams are, especially going into a week one where he's been able to focus on the Jets for, a significant period of time. So I think the Steelers could actually win this one like quite easily. So I'll take the Steelers to win and the Steelers to cover the spread. Copilot expects Aaron Rodgers to be motivated to perform well against the Jets after his rocky departure from the team, and that the experience gap between Mike Tomlin and Aaron Glenn is a reason to back Pittsburgh in this game, and has the Steelers winning 27-17.
Yeah. Well, I didn't make my selection.
Oh,
So
sorry. Well, you can still
Copilot jumped the gun here on me.
You're allowed to pick after Copilot.
I don't want Copilot to influence me. No, I'm also unfortunately going to take the Steelers here. I think Rodgers will kind of be slightly motivated to have a good game here against the Jets. He is, if one thing, maybe a little vindictive. So I think he'll come out to play. This could be his best game of the season. This could be his best. He will be healthy and rested. And I think on the other end, the Steelers will know how to play Justin Fields, as he was just in there last year, and they have that same defense. So I think they're going to shut down Fields. But this could be your ball game, because it could be a 10-3 win for the Steelers here.
It could be, and whilst I'm not buying into like how interesting this narrative is of the sort of revenge game, I still think there's more reason to watch this game than there is to watch a couple of these other games, because I'm at least with Aaron Rodgers, it's going to either be quite good or it's going to be absolutely awful. And either way, that will be very watchable.
True.
To wrap things up for the early slate of games, we have the Buccaneers at Falcons, and the Buccaneers are 1.5-point favorites.
I'll keep this kind of simple because, again, this is another close game here, another good matchup. Not the most exciting matchup, but division rivals. This could decide the division in week one right here, getting off to a quick start. I am not ready to bet on Michael Penix Jr. yet until I see him play a few games this season. So with that, I'm going to have to take the Bucs. I'm going to have to take Baker Mayfield. Tristan Wirfs is out. That's big for them. He's an amazing all-pro, all-tackle. But
and Godwin.
And Godwin actually is out too, yeah. But I'll still take the Bucs to win this and the Bucs to cover.
Yeah, I agree with you. I had to kind of see it to believe it with this Falcons. And it's tough with the Falcons because they're always inconsistent, and they do have games. There's going to be times this season where they're going to look really good and times this season where they're going to look terrible, which is probably going to be the same for the Buccaneers. But based off what we saw from Baker Mayfield last season and how good he was and just how explosive their offense can be, even with those two important missing players for the offense, I think they'll just have too much for this Falcons team. So I expect the Buccaneers to actually win this one. I'm going to go confident. I think they'll win it by 10 plus points. So I'll take them to win and take them to cover. Copilot is predicting an upset here. because whilst it has uneasiness trusting Michael Penix Jr. as he enters his first season as a full-time starter, that the injuries to Wirfs and Godwin means that Atlanta can focus more coverage on Evans and expects the Falcons pass rush to get more pressure on Baker Mayfield with Wirfs out of action. And they have the Falcons winning 24-21.
I think Copilot's just listening to us and changing its decision as we just talk.
This is a game where it acknowledged that it has changed its position, because prior to being aware of the injuries to Wirfs and Godwin, it had the Buccaneers winning 28-20. Next up, we have the 49ers at the Seahawks, and the 49ers are 2.5-point favorites. I guess I will go on this first on this one. Having predicted the 49ers to win this division, then I suppose I sort of have to pick the 49ers to win this important divisional game. Obviously, lost Deebo Samuel this offseason. Ayuk is not playing in this game. So question marks there as to what this offense will look like. But realistically, we've seen from this 49ers team that when Purdy is healthy and McCaffrey is healthy, that they're pretty difficult to stop. And so coming into week one with those players fit and ready to go, I think that they will just have too much for this Seahawks team. So the question mark with the 49ers is the injuries over the course of the year. But early in the season, I think they're going to get off to a hot start. I think they'll win and cover here, and win actually quite comfortably.
Wow. Another great division matchup here. I don't see this being a comfortable win. I think this is going to come down to who runs the ball better. Both teams really like to run the ball and base their offense on the run with a lot of play action. And you have McCaffrey and Brian Robinson Jr. now on the Niners. And I think that will be a better running attack than Kenneth Walker the third. So for me, I'll take the Niners to win and to cover. But keep in mind, Sam Darnold did beat the Niners last year when he was on the Vikings. So Darnold knows a thing or two about that Niners secondary. So don't be surprised if he gets some good passes in.
All right. At least it's always good when we disagree on the 49ers. So that makes me confident. Copilot is...
I picked the Niners.
Oh, sorry. You kind of... All right. But you said don't be surprised. I didn't know what it mildly cut out during that period, and then I just heard you at the end being don't be surprised if Sam Darnold does well here. So Copilot is going against us. They are predicting a 23-20 victory for the Seahawks, and said that the Seahawks will be a popular upset pick thanks to their strong defense and the fact that they ranked 5th in expected points against from week 9 onwards last season. And that Rick Woolen and Devin Witherspoon led secondary is elite. It also believes that the departure of Deebo Samuel and the absence of Brandon Ayuk will limit what the 49ers can do through the air in an already difficult matchup. We'll then move on to Titans at Broncos, where the Broncos are the heaviest favorite of the week, 8.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I cannot fully remember what that stat is about rookie QBs in week 1 and first pick QBs in week 1, but it's not good. It's not something you want to bank on. In our preview, I did talk about how the Broncos were 1-7 against teams with winning records last year, but they were very dominant against teams that weren't good and blew them out quite often. And I think the Titans are not a very good team. They might not win more than 2-3 games this year. So I'm going to take the Broncos to win and the Broncos to cover.
Yeah, to me, I feel about the Broncos the way people seem to feel about the Patriots, in that there I legitimately felt that we saw a lot from them last year, and there's reason to believe that they'll only get better kind of this year versus what we got out of Bo Nix last year. So yeah, this is a nice matchup for them to start the season up against a rookie quarterback, up against a team that has really lost its identity over the last couple of years, not only through a head coaching change, but just every key positional player in the Titans has left in the last 2 to 3 seasons. So you then look at the fact that the Broncos made significant additions in on the defensive side of things with Greenlaw, Hufanga, Barron, all joining what was already a pretty good defense. So yeah, I think this is a very nice matchup for them, and I expect the Broncos to win and win easily and
Yeah, this
cover
is
this
tough.
cover the spread.
Tough for Cam Ward to come in playing a team that had led up to third fewest points, added two great players on defense, and had a combined 39 and a half sacks with their front four. So not a good matchup you want when on your first match as a QB.
Yeah. And Copilot agrees with us. It has Broncos winning 27-13 and doesn't trust rookie quarterback Cam Ward making his NFL debut on the road against one of the league's toughest defenses. It also noted that the altitude in Denver could be a potential problem for the number one overall pick.
It's bringing in weather. Oh boy, look out. Is
I
it
didn't know
going to
that.
say that every week?
Maybe. I didn't know. Does Cam Ward have an altitude issue? Like, has he been exposed at high altitude previously? Up next, we have the Lions at Packers. Really good game. And Packers are 2.5-point favorites.
So both of us picked the Packers to make it to the Super Bowl. This isn't a must-win game for them, but this is a very good litmus test for them. A great matchup. This is a game I am excited to watch. I think it'll be a very high-scoring game like it has in the past. Maybe it just ends with who gets the ball last. It could be one of those games. I think the Packers, I don't know. I'll take the Packers to win and to cover. I just think with the Parsons trade, the scale has tipped a little bit. Although I don't know if he's going to play officially. They said he's trying to play, so I don't know if we can change our pick if he doesn't or not.
No,
but I'll take the Packers to win and to cover.
Yeah, I think the expectation is that he's probably not going to play because of a back injury. So, but that being said, I do think the Packers are just better than the Lions. And again, a team trending upwards and, got better over the course of the last season and have just made significant improvements over the last 18 months or so. And so, yeah, we both have the Packers making the Super Bowl. I expect them to get off to a hot start. So, I think it will be a fun game to watch because these are two interesting offenses. And, you obviously with the Lions, they always have pretty unique play calling and ways in which they get their playmakers involved. And that could be a little bit difficult for the Packers to contain. But yeah, I think the Packers will win this one and the Packers will cover. Copilot disagrees with us. It has the Lions winning 27-23. And in part because it says that Jared Goff is more consistent than Jordan Love. And that Dan Campbell
Except
has
for that six interception game he had. How was he consistent in that fucking game?
And that Dan Campbell has a 6-2 record against the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind though, Dan Campbell has a 6-2 record, but he also had some good coordinators behind him, and both those coordinators are now gone. So that is going to be a factor in this game.
For sure. And the final game from that slate is the Texans at the Rams. And the Rams are 3-point favorites. I think the issue here is that do you expect the Texans to bounce back? Obviously, really disappointing year for CJ Stroud and their offense when they were a lot of popular, you were a popular like dark horse pick this time last year for making the Super Bowl, and that really did not materialize. The Rams are just consistent, and as much as I always think that the end is near for the Rams, they consistently prove me wrong. But with Matthew Stafford probably not playing, I think there's still a chance he might.
He's expected to play.
He's expected to play, but not healthy. And I mean, is Alaric Jackson your favorite player this season now that he's coming into the year with a blood clot issue? Do you feel like, are you kindred spirits?
Yeah. What a wimp not playing with blood clot issues. I'm still playing hockey.
There you go. But he's decided to sit out as left tackle in an NFL game. So, What do we know about that? But yeah, I think this could be an upset because I think the Texans will be a little bit better than they were last year. I think this is the beginning of the end for the sort of Stafford era in LA. And yeah, I think the Texans will win this one.
Yeah, you were high on the Texans in our season preview, so I expected you to take the Texans here. The Rams are 6-2 against the spread in week 1 the last 8 years. I think that trend will continue. I think as long as Stafford plays, they are the better team. It will be close, but I think 3 is enough that I'll take the Rams to win and to cover. Although I'm not this is kind of a stay away game for me. I don't have a strong opinion either way. I think they're both pretty decent teams.
And Copilot has the Texans winning 20-17. It wants to pick the Texans on the back of injury concerns over Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford and left tackle Alaric Jackson. It also was concerned about Stafford struggling against Houston's top 5 defense that can consistently put pressure on him. We now move on to the Sunday night game, probably the best matchup of the week, which is saying something given the quality of the overall slate of games as well. But it's Ravens at Bills, and the Ravens are currently 1-point favorites.
The Ravens are 1-point favorites now?
Yep.
Wow, because yesterday I think the Bills were favored by a point yesterday or the day before. I was going to take the Bills no matter what. Do you know the Bills haven't lost a regular season home game since November 2023? They
I
are
did not know
they are
that.
strong at home, Eddie. They are strong at home. This is a beautiful matchup for week 1. I'm almost disappointed that this is a week 1 matchup because you don't have teams that fully know who they are yet. So it's a little unfair that you put 2 great teams like this up against each other on week 1, that it might not be the result that you'd get in week 14 or 15 or in the playoffs even. But yeah, this is a great matchup. But you have to take the Bills here. I mean, if you think the Bills are Super Bowl favorites, co-favorites, and they're home and they're getting points, come on.
Yeah, no, I think I'm torn because I do really like the Ravens. I mean, any listener of the podcast will know that I consistently pick them to win difficult matchups. And the one advantage I do have, what I like about this is these are 2 teams who very much know who they are. They have clear identities. There's been stability in their team and key positions over the last couple of years. And so there's no question. You did speak about the idea that coming into week 1, some teams don't really know who they are. These teams definitely do know who they are. Yes, we both picked the Bills to do well this season, so kind of have to expect them to get off to a good start. But I will not, even if the Ravens win this will not seriously impact my feelings about the Bills because I do think these are maybe the 2 best teams in football playing each other, and it's a toss-up. And whilst I think the Bills are better, I actually think the Ravens might be the Bills might be a better matchup for the Ravens than the Ravens are for the Bills, if you understand what I'm saying. And that's backed up by the fact that the Ravens averaged 223.5 rushing yards per game in their 2 meetings against the Bills last year. So they just run all over the Bills. So, I mean, even if you think that the Bills slightly improve and keep them to 200 rushing yards, that's still a pretty big offensive day for the Ravens. So I'm going to back the Bills to win this one and obviously plus the 1 point, but I don't feel super confident about it. The co-pilot, on the other hand, is expecting the Ravens to win this one 27-24 and is excited. The AI is excited about the battle between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, the 2 most recent NFL MVPs, but is giving the Ravens a slight edge because they have a deeper and more balanced roster.
Copilot. I like that Copilot's hyped for that game. I think everyone's hyped.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a good game that it brought emotion out of an algorithm.
Does Copilot want to come watch the game with us?
We can turn it on. I'll open my laptop and have it and let it watch through the webcam. Although I suppose it's consuming all data at all times, so it doesn't need me to let it watch it. We wrap things up then with Monday Night Football.
Another good game.
It is a good game, but from the highs of Sunday night, this is a compelling game, but it's not nearly as good of a matchup. I would have preferred to have this as the Sunday night game and the Ravens-Bills as a Monday night game. But we have the Vikings at the Bears, and Vikings are 1.5-point favorites.
Yeah, a good NFC North rivalry to finish the week. Again, if I'm being consistent in my picks, I said I can't trust Michael Penix Jr. yet until I see him play a few games, and he already played last year, so you even have a small set of games to judge him off of. But JJ McCarthy did not play at all, so it's really tough to trust McCarthy here. He could be great. I mean, last season before he got injured, the hype was huge in the preseason for McCarthy. They said he looked phenomenal. And I guess now that I hear I'm in Minneapolis, I have to start supporting the Vikings. So I would like to see McCarthy do well. But right now, I just can't trust that. And I will take Caleb Williams. I think the Bears had some nice additions to their offense. Maybe the main one being the head coach, who will revitalize that offense a little bit. So I'm going to take the Bears to win this.
Yeah, I think the Bears are better than the Vikings coming into this year, and I do have some serious reservations about JJ McCarthy. But obviously, we didn't see, and there were flashes of good moments from Caleb Williams last year, but he definitely struggled when he faced pressure. And the Vikings are the team that blitzes the most in the NFL, and also has, you know, defensive schemes that cause just about everyone massive problems. So that's a little bit of a concern for a player who's struggled with reads and then has also struggled when he's faced pressure, that he's now going to face a huge amount of pressure and defensive schemes. That means making reads is even more important. And I don't know how well how well he'll do in his pre-snap reads against this kind of quite unique defensive setup from the Vikings. That being said, I just think they've made some nice additions in terms of improving their offensive line in the offseason, and they do have a decent amount of talent around Caleb Williams. Obviously, had the change in the system and head coach. I expect the Bears to be pretty decent this year, and I think they'll win this game to get off to a good start. Copilot is taking the Vikings 20-17. He's expecting a close, low-scoring game where defense and field position may play a major role, and that J.J. McCarthy and Caleb Williams could both endure some growing pains as the former makes his first career NFL start.
Yeah. Thanks, Copilot.
There we go. Imagine it if Copilot just does a clean sweep, we might get replaced fully by Copilot on the podcast. So that wraps up our NFL predictions. I guess we could maybe do an opportunity for best bet of the week to kick things off.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. I didn't
Well,
have
you
a
could just do
best bet of
something
the
kind
week
of on the
prepared.
fly. For me, I'm just going to go down my tried and tested moneyline favorites, and I'm going to kick things off with the Eagles tonight. The Bengals to beat the Browns on Sunday. No. And then the Broncos to beat the Titans. And put those three teams together, you're getting around 6-4, 7-4 on that treble, 3-team parlay. And you know what? I think that's a nice, safe way to kick off the NFL season. What I also love about it is the fact that you get Thursday night football, one early game on Sunday, one late game on Sunday. So you have an interest in some key. You're just missing the Friday night game. And then if you win, you can roll it all over onto Sunday night football and, go one way or the other with that bet.
What was it again?
Broncos money line, Bengals money line, Eagles money line.
Throw in the Cards, and that would be mine.
I'm fine with that. So that would take you to around 9-4. So a little bit better than 2-1.
Nice. I like that. That's the big chill bet of the week.
I'm fine. I can sign off on that bet, which is rare for us to be in agreement on the bet of the week. So that's a terrible sign. And I do suppose the thing that I hate, and I'm not going to mention specific other podcasts, but people do always like to speak about how unpredictable week one is, and there's always a big upset. I'm not sure if that's always true, but I just think it's because some teams get heavily favored even when we know that they're not great, and that they then lose in week one because it turns out that they're not particularly good.
Yeah.
I don't think those are upsets that genuinely stun people most of the time. And that's where I would say that's what worries me slightly about throwing the Cardinals in there, is that they're exactly what I'm describing of maybe they're not going to be very good, but the Saints are really bad, so they should be very heavy favorites. Whereas I actually
Spencer
trust
Rattler is 0-6, Eddie.
Yeah, no, I do think that they'll win. But you see what I mean? I think the difference there is I expect the Broncos to be really good. I expect the Bengals to be good. I expect the Eagles to be good. I'm not putting the Cardinals in a deep playoff run. So having them as a kind of must bet week one game is a little bit of a concern. All right. Any other popular culture or non-sporting topics to discuss before we wrap things up?
Well, we're deep into the U.S. Open now for tennis.
We are, yeah. And had an upset
And
last night. Swiatek did what Swiatek does and managed to lose at a stage of the tournament when it felt like it was really there for the taking. You know, what we were expecting, the classic matchup of, Swiatek versus
Sabalenka.
and we're denied that. And Swiatek just lost it in the method that she always does. I mean, Asimova is a good player, but Swiatek got the early break. It looked like it was going to be her in control, and then she lost in straight sets. And, again, had a break at the beginning of set two, was immediately broken back, and then just kind of sort of fell apart. And you look into what her sort of behavior on court is when she's losing games like that. And it's just strange because for someone who won, 40, 45 games in a row at one point and looked unbeatable, she seems to be very mentally fragile. And when things start to go wrong, they really go wrong for her. And you don't trust that she can kind of recover from those losing positions, which is strange for someone who is so good and has had such, periods of dominance throughout her career.
Yeah. It is unfortunate because I really was looking forward to that matchup. I think that was going to be a great matchup. And then on the other side, you have what's looking like it could be again.
Sinner Alcaraz.
Sinner Alcaraz matchup, which
could
be the norm for a while.
If Felix Auger-Aliassime somehow denies Sinner in the Sinner is a 1-40 to win his U.S. Open semifinal. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, that's what you expect from a second round Sinner.
That's got to be one of the lowest odds ever.
It would not surprise me if that's the heaviest ever semifinal of a men's major that you've seen. On the other side, you've got Alcaraz facing, like an interesting test against Djokovic, but we've just seen over the last few tournaments that Djokovic is good enough to beat everybody aside from Sinner and Alcaraz, and that he probably, is just getting too old for this type of matchup. But it would be nice if Djokovic could somehow find a way into a final. But at the same time, the Sinner Alcaraz matchup is it's interesting in and of itself. So if they get to go head to head,
gold.
I did feel sorry. I don't know if you saw. So yesterday, Auger-Aliassime beat de Minaur, who won the first set but then lost 3-1, and pretty depressing post-match press conference from Alex de Minaur, where he
I did not see this.
He said that he was seeing red, that he didn't know how he was going to recover from that loss, that he had a chance to make a major semifinal for sort of the first time in his career, and that he really felt like it was a winnable game and a match that was on his racket, whereas most of the other quarterfinals he's played has been up against the likes of Jannik Sinner, and they're too good, so there's nothing he can do, but that he should have been beating Felix Auger-Aliassime, and that it's a match that he thinks for the remainder of his career he'll always want to be able to play again. It was I give him credit. Like, he was very direct and open about how much of a struggle it was, but it was a little bit of a tough watch to see a player in that type of state post match. Like, he was clearly not in a very good place.
Yeah. That's got to be one of the hardest things about being a professional athlete, especially in a one-on-one sport like that, where right after you lose, you have to be interviewed and you kind of have to put on the mask. And sometimes it's hard to put the mask on, I'm sure.
Yeah. And you do it so, emotions will still be so raw. And yeah, there's no way to hide. You can't speak about your teammates or anything else. And yeah, if you're him, you just know. And look, I guess if you put your arm around him and he did speak about how just Alcaraz and Sinner are a level above him, I guess you could say, well, you would have lost to Sinner in the next round anyway. So, you know, yeah, you lost a bit of prize money and didn't get to play in a U.S. Open semifinal, but it's just, you get to go home 2 days early. But he seems a very likable guy. OJ Aliassim, it's an interesting storyline just because he had so much early potential and his career it's not really materialized, and he sort of, struggled through large periods, and now he finds himself in a semifinal. But yeah, I can't see him beating Sinner. I expect Sinner to win the U.S. Open, to be honest, because I just think on hard court he'll have too much for Alcaraz, and then same on the women's side. I think Osaka is back. I guess she's sort of mowing down people on one side, and now she plays Anisimova in the one semifinal, coming off the back of her win against Swiatek. Sabalenka has a fairly nice semifinal matchup against Gula. I think Sabalenka wins the U.S. Open as well. So I think I'm not going to say it's the double S of Sabalenka and Sinner taking the U.S. Open.
And I mean, I think the talk of the U.S. Open, though, Eddie, was something that we kind of missed because we hadn't podcasted for a while. But the Taylor Townsend issue, getting called out and having quite a little spat with,
Ostapenko.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one because Ostapenko is a brat. Like, there's no two ways around it. She has been throughout her career. She has hissy fits on court. She's rude to people. She's rude to umpires, line judges, opponents, fans, her coaches, and her box. Like, no one is immune from getting Ostapenko yelling at you. And so she's very hard to like. And this is another example of her not handling a situation well. However, it is an unspoken rule in tennis that after any net cord, you do apologize. And especially on a key point, even if you don't mean it, like, it's the weird thing, right? You don't have to, you're not apologetic of, oh, you should have won that point, but just the gesture of acknowledging the luck that you had there. And so the point that Ostapenko was making, that Taylor Townsend should have said sorry after the net cord, I think is fine. But the way in which she tried to make that argument and the time at which she did it, I think was really poor. So I kind of like both of them sort of look bad out of it in my mind.
Here's what I'll say. I obviously don't play tennis, so I don't know how much of an issue that is. That someone not apologizing for a net hit win is that egregious of an issue that you go after someone and say they have no class and no education. I think that is a major overreaction. And I think that's also someone not reading the room in saying that, that they have no class and no education. I think that is a super shitty move there by Ostapenko. The only thing I will say, though, that then I think Townsend had a clear upper hand there, but then her reaction to that kind of upset me a little bit, where instead of taking the high road and being like, even if she was like, well, you're a cunt, and then just walked off.
That's the high road.
Yeah. Okay. Her then like walking off and then coaxing the fans into like cheering and then pointing back at Ostapenko, I think is a bad look. Like, just take the high road and be like, you sound like an idiot right now. I beat you, whatever. goodbye, like get off the court because you're a loser and just go. But like trying to do the like, oh yeah, like screw her, right? Let's hear it, and trying to get the crowd to like kind of boo her. Not a great look.
Yeah, I mean, we saw someone take the high road Tsitsipas when he lost to Altmaier in the second round. He tried to have the post-match net confrontation with Altmaier, who just said, "No, I'm not doing it," and then walked backwards away from him and
Yeah.
basically didn't let Tsitsipas. That, I think, is the way to handle it when someone's just angry and yelling at you. And you have to understand, yeah, they're really frustrated. They've lost, and something that you've done has got in their head, and that's what they're focusing on. And I think Townsend should know enough. I mean, I think Ostapenko is doesn't have a lot of friends on the tour. Sabalenka did sort of defend her, but not really defend her. But I think Sabalenka is one of the few people who might get along with Ostapenko. In terms of the phrasing of the education and stuff, it is her second language, so I think you do sometimes have to be a bit forgiving in terms of the words that are chosen in that moment. Especially you're angry and it's not your mother tongue. Maybe you wouldn't choose the absolute. It's not like she had 10 minutes to prepare her rant, like she's lost, walked to the net and then decided to get.
You're making a dig at someone if you tell them they're not educated, no matter who
It's
you
not
say
great.
that to. That's a dig. If you said that to anybody, they would get like that. That is a trigger.
It is, but I do understand what she's trying to say, which is in sort of the unspoken rules of tennis. You clearly have not been raised properly in terms of, and to me, the Townsend, I agree with you. She shouldn't have kind of goaded Ostapenko further. And the high road she could have taken post match was, yeah, with hindsight, I should have acknowledged the luck that I had, but it was a big moment and I was just focused on me winning. And, you know, sorry, next time I'll do that. But at the same time, the criticism she had of me is not fair. But I also know that she was just frustrated and that she lost and disappointed in her performance. You just say that and we all move on.
Yeah, you dropped the C word on her.
But yeah, I don't think either of them really looked great. And yeah. Any other popular culture things to discuss?
No, I haven't really watched much television besides Alien Earth, which is so far very good. About halfway through the season, I think. I know you're not going to be watching Alien Earth, but it is good. For anyone who is a fan of the Alien franchise, it is good.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. Maybe. I have kind of run out of TV shows to watch. I have resumed my House rewatch, which I know we spoke about several months ago, and I sort of paused because other things had come about. So I'm on season 6 of House, still slowly chugging along. I've decided I might adopt the House move that, like, when he has the revelation when someone's speaking to him, someone will be like, well, why'd you lose that pen? And then as he, lost pen, and then goes and cures the person. I think just at work and in meetings, I'm going to adopt just sort of gazing off into the distance after someone has said something and try and make it out that like I've put together some brilliant plan as a result of an unrelated sentence that they've just come up with.
Actually, I was watching Sherwood, which is a British show. It was on HBO, and I had one episode left, and then HBO dropped it starting in September. So now I have not watched the season finale of the show, and I'm gonna have to search far and wide to find the finale.
Well, I'm sure you'll get it. But yeah, no, I mean, there's some good shows coming, and obviously with football being back, and I like that it coincides with the international break because the international break is so dull. But
Yeah,
it does deny us this being like a really good. Also, college football this weekend is
not
not
as good
great.
as last week.
Yeah. So you could have had just a fantastic, you have such great NFL matchups. It could have been easy for this to be a really incredible sporting weekend. And actually, the NFL is the saving grace of an otherwise disappointing weekend of
No, but I
sport.
kind of like that though, because I think week one I'm okay with. Let's just make this an NFL weekend because you have a Thursday game, you have a Friday game, you have Sunday, and then you have a Monday. So it's like let's just make this a little NFL fest these next 3-4 days, and then once we're NFL's back fully into gear, then we drop in college football, then we drop in the Premier League, really get those weekends going.
All right. I did have actually one question for you, because you had listeners of the podcast would not acknowledge your wedding, your marriage, and then your elopement party that you had, seeing
Marriage
as
celebration party.
marriage celebration party, celebration of an official marriage. What was, I've sent you a present.
Have not received it.
It takes a bit of time,
Okay.
but what was the present giving like for a non-wedding wedding, if you see what I mean?
Yeah. It was 95% just cards with money. And then I did get a few other gifts, but not like household gifts. So most of it was someone gave us a nice basket that had a bottle of Pink Whitney. For those who know, I like my Pink Whitney, and a bottle of wine, and then had like Mr. and Mrs. Like nice drinking glasses, and then kind of like travel mug glasses. Someone else actually really funny gave us a big white pumpkin, like ceramic pumpkin, or like glass whatever pumpkin that said Mr. and Mrs. on it. That was actually really funny because it was really big and it was tough to bring on our checked luggage. We had to really pack it in and wrap it because it's pretty fragile. But that was kind of nice for like a little holiday decorations with you know Halloween coming right around the corner. It was nice to put out for that. We got a nice bottle of Dom Perignon. That was one of the wedding gifts. Trying to think. That was really about it. Mostly just cards.
Nice.
And a few cards on repeat. We had a few cards that were like the same one, which is kind of funny.
Okay.
We had the same card 4 times. Must be a common wedding card.
Obviously, yeah.
And then the weirdest one is we had like a joke card. It was like a funny card that was a wedding card, and we got it back to back when we were opening the cards. That was really weird.
Wow. Interesting. And actually,
But
to go ahead.
no, go ahead, go for it.
No, because it's a separate subject. So if you have a final wedding thought.
No, that's about all. That's what I was going to say.
Okay, well, this is an opportunity for our listeners to engage with us via Instagram, or more likely through Twitter, I suppose. But we will, speaking of Halloween, we will be together for Halloween. And there is, you won't be there yet? Were you not?
Will I?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, fuck.
And there is talk of us doing a group Halloween costume in the San Diego area. So open to suggestions as to, you will be there for Halloween.
Yeah, I will. Damn it. I hate Halloween.
Open to suggestions.
I'm going to be a podcaster.
Oh, yeah, just carry around a microphone and have headphones on.
Yeah, if we have to do a group out. Isn't there an age limit here? Haven't we hit the age limit?
But I think you swing back around on the age limit thing, where you go from, I think there's that awkward period of like your early 30s where it feels like, because the tendency there is still to be trying to have the sort of college style Halloween experience. Now we're just at a like, go to a bar, but maybe have something on so you feel like you're joining in the festivities. Could just be like a t-shirt that you're wearing. Who knows? I don't know.
Why don't we just dress up as San Diego Chargers?
In what, full uniform?
No, just like we'll make t-shirts. You can be Junior Seau.
Oh, dear. Yeah, maybe give that one a skip.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to think about that because I don't really want to dress up. So we'll have to think of how easily we can make this something. We'd have to Jim Halpert it.
Yes.
All right. Well, with that, I think we'll call it a day.
Sounds good.
Talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.